Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Simply Sketchy. And today I once more brought with me my good old friend, Fat Dave, also known as Total Blackout Painting. Say hello, buddy.
Hello. How are we doing today?
Well, personally, I'm doing pretty well. And how about you? Thank you for dropping
Good.
by.
Yeah, good. We had to. This is our second go at it. We started up earlier, and then some happened, and we had to restart. So
Uh,
I'm going to spill the beans on some
nothing.
behind the scenes knowledge
Yeah,
there.
it's some terrible knowledge has been shared. He doxed
Yeah.
himself. He committed dude. That was some serious fucking crime. But I gotta respect the hustle, dude. I gotta respect it. I did not see you bring out the piece, but you know, surprises, nice surprises. I've seen worse.
But now I have a new faucet, and my dishwasher's working, so
Heck
I'm
yeah.
happy.
And that poor guy will never walk again. But he deserved it. He frickin' deserved it.
But,
So
yeah,
to
so it's good to be back. It's good that I'm glad you're back off the boat, so we could
oh
take some time and hang out and
yeah,
do this recording.
really nice being back home. Believe you me.
Yeah,
So, today I think you were talking about last time that we're starting to near the end of the subjects of the first book, so why not just end it off with a bang? Or rather, the
yeah,
bang that comes from the big bad himself.
yeah. So I thought that we've gone through a lot of the series and gone talked about a lot of characters and stuff, and I figured would make this kind of like the wrap up and tell the whole, give a good synopsis of the story. And while we do Bahumat, who is the evil demon that is the big bad guy of the first book. Um, he's the one that Muriel's trying to free so that he can overthrow the preserve,
Yeah,
because he's a super powerful demon.
basically Muriel's master or beneficiary, was it?
Yeah, yeah, something like that. Um, he he's not the only one, because there's a few. There's actually ends up being quite a few demons on the Fablehaven Preserve, because it's huge. It's a lot bigger than people realize. Um, it's the same thing with a lot of magical preserves. They're way bigger than people realize because, uh, by the nature of them, they're hidden from. There's no way people could actually measure them because they're actually hidden. Like anybody who'd be concerned enough to try to measure it for like a geological thing or whatever, would not be able to pay attention to it
It's
because
kind of
of the
like a
distractor
TARDIS. It's
spells and all the other stuff.
yeah, so it's kind of like a TARDIS, but on an entire area of living. Because the TARDIS
It
is bigger on the inside, but sort of has the same effect.
Well, yes and no. I mean, yes, in the it's bigger than it seems, but no, it's actually that big. It's just people don't realize how big it is, because it's actually that big. You just don't realize it. So it's not like the TARDIS is a large space compacted into a small space. This is just a large space that people think is a small space. That's what the preserves are.
Just more illusion magic done by Fey folk and all that.
Yep. But yeah. So anyhow, so we're doing today. We're doing Bahamut, the three-legged, three-armed, winged dragon demon from Fablehaven Preserve. That was, and this is the scene at the end of the book where he tries to. When he's trying to escape after Muriel undoes all the knots before Kendra comes in with all the large fairies, he's imprisoned in a place called the Forgotten Chapel.
Right.
And the chapel itself is guarded by there's a presence there that um, that people don't, it's an unnerving presence because it's a supernatural evil there, so it's an unnerving presence to good creatures and to mortals, so they'll just avoid it. which there's a reason for the unnatural. Aside from him being in prison there's a reason for the
Okay, so it's not just bleeding.
unnatural.
It's not just his own malice bleeding out. It's more. It's more to it than just that.
Well, yeah, there's actually a corrupted hamadryad that helps to protect it from intruders and from keep people out until they can try to free him, basically.
Oh,
But so yeah, at the end of the before at the climax of the story, Bahumat's bursting out of the top of this forbidden chapel. He's destroyed the forbidden chapel and he's escaping from it. And then the fairies come in and they cast a spell on him and they catch him in another weave of knots, and they catch Muriel in there too, and they end up basically burying them in a giant hill. So they trap them, and where the chapel was, they cover it with a big hill.
so this time they just decided
like,
they decided screw it, we're doing the nuclear option this time.
yeah, pretty much. They just buried him under a giant mound of dirt. So if anybody wanted to free them in the future, they'll have to go. They'll have to dig them up.
Yeah.
Right, and they'd have to know to dig up this one fairy now.
Yeah.
A giant mound of or a giant mound of dirt covered in flowers.
Oh.
So,
yeah, so you can't just accidentally dig it up, can you?
Yeah, no, they'd have to. It wouldn't be something they'd accidentally. You'd have to be searching for it. But then that's how they do. Like it's it always and I think we've talked about this before. I know we've talked about it before, but it always makes me think of like the potential for so what would happen if the explorers did, like, somebody's exploring an ancient tomb in friggin' in India, and they do unleash like this evil curse or this evil demon out on the world, just accidentally, like unintentionally. What would happen? Like, is that even a possibility? And like the nature of the way they set up the magical prisons and the magical traps in this universe, it would be impossible for someone to just accidentally open it.
Yeah. One would think that deities placing demons under bounds would make it hard for the demons to, escape.
Yeah. It's not just a matter of not just a matter of you just stumble into a room and open a box.
Yes.
Like, no, you can't just do that. You have to go through a whole bunch of steps to get there. A whole bunch of
it would be kind of pointless if these deities trapped a monster under a giant magic prison that can hold the mightiest whatever's under, and you could just accidentally release it by just tripping over a stone.
Yeah. Like, it's funny to think that's going to happen, or that some ancient evil is going to be unleashed on our world, haphazardly unleashed on our world. But I don't think that's the case. If there was an ancient evil unleashed on our world, I think it would absolutely be intentional.
Oh yeah.
Which is the thrust of these novels, is that someone is intentionally trying to release the demon king. They're trying to open up because they figure it's better to be.
Yeah, the Bahamut is not the king himself. He's just something of a.
Oh no, he's not even close. He's not even close to the. He's a powerful demon, but he's not close to the demon king, and I don't even think he's even like in the hierarchy.
Seriously? Dude
because
doesn't even
they've all
rate.
been. I don't. I don't think he's very high up in the not as far as like he would be in the court or anything like that, possibly. Um, but there's some crazy powerful demons. So I mean, all the demons are powerful. It's just kind of their nature of being like they wouldn't be a demon if they weren't mega powerful dark entities. And so, um, yeah, the Demon King is really cool. So the Demon King actually carries the Fairy King. He a long time ago, the some demons ambushed the Fairy King and captured him, and now the Demon King wears him on a chain around his waist.
Ooh.
Like he's hanging from a chain on the Demon King's belt.
So
It's just
the beef between the fairies and the demons is rather personal, I guess.
yeah. Well, the demons are straight up evil.
Yes.
You know, and they just want destruction and domination. So, and which is an interesting thing because the demons are all like, a lot of them, especially as he portrays them, are not like necessarily sadistically. They're reasonable. Like they're more like chaotic, or not chaotic, but like lawful evil.
Oh, so
You
they're
know,
like the
or
devils
maybe
from D&D then, kind of.
kind of so. I mean, they're evil. They're evil and they want destruction, but they're like, I mean, and not to say that it's not anything, but it's like, again, it's their nature.
Yes. Again, as much else of the supernaturals in this series, apparently.
Yeah.
From what you told me, they're very much driven by their supernatural instincts, by their natures. Unlike humans who have the opportunity to, work around their natures. They're not driven by them.
Yeah. But it's not to say that, that a demon couldn't necessarily do a good thing. It's just that they tend to do evil things, you know, in the same way.
Something good can happen out of their actions, but they would never overtly aim to do a good action.
It's more incidental than it is, or it's far more incidental to their actions.
Yeah. Oh, that's kind of cool.
So, yeah. Anyhow, so which was one of the reasons I think why the Fairy Queen was so willing to help Kendra stop this, because she knew that, that this is freeing him is just one step towards freeing the rest of the demons.
Yeah.
Because every free demon is going to work towards freeing every other demon.
Right.
All
the way up to the top, right?
To have, well, they want to have, because they want to have that domination where demons rule the earth, right? And they can't do that without a lot of them. It's not like there's just one demon that wants to take over everything. Like when this guy gets out, he'll overthrow the preserve and then use the power, use that power to help establish, establish a base to help further the cause of freeing the Demon King, whatever, and then eventual domination.
And the humans and politicians do have that negative mindset of, well, they're gonna win anyway, so might as well submit.
Yeah. Well, and there are some, and that's the whole, that ends up being the through line of the story, is the Society of the Evening Star, which are the bad guys trying to, they're working to overthrow the preserves. And a lot of the reason why they're trying to do that is because they are, so there's certain preserves that they hold the keys to the Demon Kingdom, or the Demon Prison, which is called Zizix. The Demon Prison is called Zizix, and there's a whole bunch of keys to it. There's 7 keys to the Demon Prison, they have to. Each one of them is a magic item that does different things. There's the chronometer, which is a device that lets you travel through time. There's a cup that you drink from that gives you eternal life. There's a device that lets you teleport, and crap, I can't remember all of them. But the one that is on the Fablehaven Preserve, the Sorensen Preserve, is the chronometer, which comes up in subsequent books. And that's revealed in subsequent books. It's revealed in subsequent stories. Right now, you just know that that the Society of the Evening Star is an evil organization that's helping to free, evil entities throughout the world.
I just
I like
noticed
that. That's a
now
good
the
touch.
Society of the Evening Star, opposed to the Morning Star.
Instead of the Morning Star.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Hello, Lucy. What's it even called? Jeffrey? I'm sorry.
And they are Joffrey? No. That's
Lucy,
Game of Thrones.
Jeffrey. That's a bad joke. Sorry. Womp womp.
Yeah,
womp.
I'm sorry. Sorry,
we murdered that one together.
But yeah, so the crap, Society of Evening Star. Yeah. So at this point, you just know that they tried to help free this guy. But then there's also a good organization called the Knights of the Dawn.
Right.
And they're working to subvert the Society of the Evening Star.
So it's it's a war between stars then, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. The night versus the night versus the day. The light versus dark. It's all kind of like I'd say it's on the nose, but it really is like well explained, and it makes sense that there's a light and dark balance.
Even if it's obvious, doesn't mean it's bad. If we're gonna get really into the details here, nothing is truly original anymore. Anyway.
No, but yeah. So this. So again, and I've talked about in the past, like there's certain things that hint at a larger story, and then this is the end of the book is really what shows the larger story, or not shows, but it starts leading into the larger story and giving you more insight into it. So just a rundown of the book from the beginning. I'm trying to get to my notes thing here. A little synopsis.
Good.
So the book, just to wrap up book one. So the book focuses on the Sorensens, who run the preserve, and then there's Kendra and Seth, who are the kids. And the books really focus on Kendra and Seth. They follow Kendra and Seth.
Yeah, because they're the main character kids, right?
They're the main characters. Yeah. They're the main.
Kendra sort of becomes. You told me that due to her contract with the elves, she sort of becomes the emissary of the elves and sort of gets.
So. Yeah, emissary of the. She becomes. They thought she was fairy struck, and then they realize she's fairy kind. Oh. So that the fairies recognize her more as a member of the. More as like a member of the fairy, as being part of the fairy court in a way. Okay. Because she's chosen by the queen. She was chosen by the queen. Okay, so it's Kendra and Seth, and they get dropped off at their grandparents' farm because the parents get called out on a cruise. Their parents and a bunch of the other kids were called out on a cruise. So Kendra and Seth go to this farm, and while they're on this farm, they got to take care of this chicken. And and they're told to stay out of the woods because there's ticks and stuff in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
So they go out to the garden and they see that there's a lot of fairies, or not a lot of. They see there's a lot of butterflies, and so they notice that the butterflies drink this tin of milk that is set out for them every day. And so in the room of the house, and the kids are stuck in this room in the attic that you later come to find out is a safe room. But anyhow, they're stuck in this room in the attic, and they're given toys and books and stuff like that. And Kendra's given a little book that's like it's a book with a lock on it. It's a puzzle book, and she has to find the key to it. And there's a few places around the house, around the room, that she keeps finding keys. And every time she finds a key, she'll find a thing to unlock. And usually when she finds something to unlock, there's a chocolate in there. So she knows it's this game. And eventually, she's she opens up this book and gets to the back page and sees it says, "Drink the milk." It's written, "Drink the milk." And so one day when they're out playing, she talks Seth into drinking the milk because he's the younger brother. And of course, you can talk your own brother into doing shit. And so he drinks the milk, and then he freaks out because he sees the fairies. And then she freaks out. She drinks the milk, and she freaks out. She sees the fairies. And then they have to talk to. So then they are like, "Hey, what the heck's going on?" And they confront the grandparents about it, or their grandfather, because their grandmother's missing. They think their grandma's on vacation, but she's missing, is what it is. And so it turns out that grandma has been turned into a chicken. So
Chicken they're taking care of, right?
Yep. She's the chicken they're taking care of. And so he explains it to them, and then tells them, "No, yeah, you got to stay out of the woods because there's magical creatures in there, and they will kill you if you fuck with them." And so Seth is like extremely curious because he's like this 10-year-old kid or 9-year-old kid, whatever. He's an extremely curious boy, because this was before cell phones and stuff, and so he didn't have a cell phone, and he wasn't zoned out on TikTok all the time. Anyhow, so
a little bit of social commentary is needed.
Yeah. So Seth is poking around in the woods, and he comes across Newell and Doran, which we drew. The satyr was the first thing that we did from here. And Newell and Doran are the satyrs, and they are, they're your introduction into the more, I would say, kind of more non-traditional fae creatures, in the sense that they're like just fairies.
Yeah.
Like the fairies are the first things you see, and that's all you get to know for until Seth goes out and he runs into the satyrs, and they become a really interesting part of the story, Newell and Doran, because they're satyrs, they're fae creatures, and their nature is to just be frivolous, kind of not care about anything. And they show a lot of character growth throughout the story. But at this point, they're just wanting batteries because they have acquired a portable TV through trading with the other groundskeepers, because the grandpa Stan absolutely does not want them to have it. And so they promise Seth gold if he'll get them batteries. And so Seth gets batteries anyhow. He ends up going into the woods a little bit, and more than he should, and he comes across an old shack with an old lady in it.
Yeah.
which ends up being Muriel. And
Little Miss
Muriel's,
Taggart.
yeah, Muriel Taggart, and she is. And at that point, she shows Seth a little doll that she has. That's a little wooden doll on a stick called a lumberjack, and she
Yep.
shows it dancing around for Seth, trying to entertain him, and then Seth gets a little weirded out and leaves.
Yeah, that would be a
He got
what was his name again?
Mendigo.
Mendigo. Yep.
Yeah,
Also a previous drawing we did.
yeah. So, so I'm calling back the other episodes. So from there, Seth goes back to the house and and says like, "Hey, there's someone in the woods," and he gets in trouble for going into the woods, and gets kind of grounded to the yard and everything. And so then they've got Hugo, who's the golem. He's a big golem, big rock and dirt creature that is basically the farmhand. And they have him kind of monitor and help protect the kids. But Seth can't help himself. And so he's fucking around with the fairies, and he ends up catching one in a jar. And the way jar. He does it is he puts a mirror at the bottom of a jar. And the fairy goes in there because they're so incredibly vain. They just go, it went in there to stare at itself in the mirror, and he just put the lid on the jar.
Yeah.
And then he took the jar inside overnight and kept it in a drawer because he knew he wasn't supposed to do it. He knew he was going to be in trouble if he did, if he got caught, but he thought it'd be cool to have his own fairy because he's a kid. And
who wouldn't think it would be cool to have their own private fairy?
Yeah. And so he ends up keeping the fairy in overnight, and it becomes an imp. And
yeah, I remember they do change their natures if certain a supernatural creature does change their nature if a certain thing happens, and for fairies it's if they get captured or something, right?
Yeah, if they get caught, if they're kept indoors overnight is what it is.
Right.
If a fairy stays indoors overnight, it will it'll turn into an imp. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself on that one, so I'll introduce some more of the characters in this story because they'll become germane later. So right now the kids they're at the grandparents' house. There's Dale, who is the main farmhand, and Dale takes care of his brother Warren, who is kind of catatonic. He's very pale, and his hair is all white, and he's catatonic. He'll move by himself and everything, but he has to be fed. So not really move. Like you can lead him by the hand to get him to go, and he'll walk places and stuff. So Dale takes care of him, but also takes care of the farm.
The dude's kind of demented in a weird way.
He's got a supernatural affliction, which is explained later. But then also there's Lena, who is like the housekeeper. And you find out later that Lena is actually a naiad who left the water because she was in love with the former caretaker. So she abandoned her immortal nature to join this mortal who had spent time to woo her. And his name was Patton Burgess, and he's very, very, very prominent in the story going forward. After he comes up a bit in this book because he's one of the most he's like the famous adventurer of the universe. Patton Burgess did a lot of things and spent a lot of time exploring and adventuring and learning magic things and talking to magical creatures and stuff like that. So
He's
um,
basically the reference sheet that a lot of the characters will use in conjunction to some of the entities they meet up, right?
it's true. He will, yeah. Yeah, yeah. That's a good way to put it. But he's not mentioned much in the first book outside of him wooing Lena and helping build the preserve. So he helped woo Lena. So anyhow, so Lena's the cook, and Lena makes the kids hot chocolate every morning that has the milk in it, so that they can see the magical creatures. So Kendra and Seth's parents don't know about the preserve because their grandparents tried to kind of bring them in on it, and like they didn't want to shock them and just be like, hey, guess what, they wanted them to come into it on their own, kind of like Kendra did, which is she solved all the riddles and then saw the drink the milk and was curious enough that she drank the milk. And kind of like she took the red pill in a ways. It's a little funny in that regard. But so she drank the milk, and then she became um sh- uh, and then they were kind of in on it. They got hip to the play.
They woke up to the situation.
Yeah, and so the grandparents trying to explain it to him, and so then back to where Seth got the fairy. He got it and turned it into an imp, which is a really terrible thing, because because fairies are beautiful. They're very beautiful, and they're very vain, and very petty. They hate each other, but they hate everyone else more. And so
it's sort of like it's sort of like the British Isle situation going on there. Everybody hates everybody except when it comes from someone from the outside.
Right. Yeah. It's so then Seth goes outside the next day, and after releasing the imp and everything, and the fairies of course find out right away. Seth goes outside, and the fairies attack him, and they end up turning him into some weird walrus type creature. And they had and there was nobody that knew, they had no way to change him back. And so they had to go to Muriel, and Muriel was bound by a series of knots. Originally there were 13 knots, and they're down to the last 2. So when every time a knot is released, it gives Muriel the power to grant a wish. And so they had to use a knot to free Seth, to change Seth back, and that left Muriel with 1 knot left. So which 1 knot will still hold her, so that wouldn't be that big of a deal. And so then the kids just learn more about the farm, learn more about the land at that point. And then it comes to midsummer, which there's a festival in the midsummer, which the rules of the preserve and boundaries of the preserve are changed, and or they're dropped is really what it is. And so supernatural entities are free to roam where they normally would, because normally there'd be a place where only all the the undead or kind of extremely evil creatures would stay to their own corner, because other creatures would help contain them, like there's centaurs, trolls.
It's kind of a recess for them.
It is. That's what it is. And so, and they're bound by treaty. A lot of the creatures are bound by magical treaty, and and it's under the auspices that they will gain the protection of a preserve if they just stay in this section of the preserve.
Yeah.
right? Like you can be in this preserve, but you can only be in this area of the preserve, you know. And then the alternative is being hunted and killed by humans or wizards or whatever. So the night of midsummer comes, or the festival comes, and their grandpa and everybody warns the kids to stay in their bed, and no matter what you do, or no matter what you hear or see, you do not leave your bed. You don't open the door. You don't open the windows. You just stay in bed. And so there's circles of salt all around the bed, and the kids are in bed, and then all of a sudden, you know, of course, howling and screaming and everything starts going on because of all this crazy ruckus going on outside. And Seth looks out the window and sees a little baby out there, and it freaks him out, and he starts thinking like, oh my God, you know, like what if they kidnapped a baby and brought it out here and we need to save that little baby? And so Kendra's like, no, don't get out of bed, don't do it. But Seth, you know, he was trying to help because he thought there was a baby. He
Well
opened up the
intentioned,
window,
but he was fooled, I guess.
yeah, and he opened up the window, and it let in a bunch of evil entities and shit. And something came in the window and came at them and tried to grab Kendra, and Seth grabbed a handful of salt and threw it in its face, which burned it enough to allow Kendra to escape. And then they went back. They stayed in the beds. They got in their beds because the beds were surrounded by salt, and they couldn't be harmed.
Right, because
And
salt
so then,
is repelling to the monsters, right?
Yep. Supernatural creatures they can't cross the salt ring. But so the
what about salt? I'm sorry for asking, but how would it be if they encountered a lot of salty people? Say there was this
No kidding.
event happening, right? And a lot of people expected to win the event, but they didn't win the event, and you know,
right.
sports,
It's a
of course.
riot.
I'm speaking of sports, of course.
Yeah. How are they going to deal with soccer hooligans?
Yes.
Yeah. No, so I'm not sure exactly what the rules on salt is, other than excuse me, and what the salt is in that. Anyhow, so the next morning, the kids, after the thing's over, the festival's over, stuff's calmed down, the kids go downstairs, and they find Dale has been turned to lead.
Wait,
and
lead?
Yeah, lead.
The metal
Dale
lead.
was. Yep. Dale was turned into a lead statue.
Oh shit.
Yeah. And they could not find Lena or Grandpa. Warren was in his cabin because he couldn't be, because nothing could happen. They couldn't, like, the cabin was safe and they weren't going to mess with Warren. And so then it becomes apparent that there's something, you know, like they have to do something to rescue Grandpa and Lena. And at this point, they had figured out that Grandma was the chicken. They were told that Grandma was the chicken, and that there was no way. They were looking for a way to free Grandma, and they knew that they could use a knot to free Grandma, but then that would be, they didn't want to do that.
Yeah, because that would just bring Muriel more and more closer to being free, and now that only one is left, it would kind of screw everything up.
Yep. And so and they find out that the way Grandma got turned into a chicken is because there is a dungeon under the property that holds some supernatural prisoners, one of which is a djinn. And so Grandma was trying to bargain with the Jinn to help Warren, to try to figure out what was wrong with Warren and to heal Warren. But the rules with the Jinn are, you can ask it. You get 3 questions, and it asks you 3 questions, and you have to, and you can't lie. If you lie, you become the Jinn's servant. You become the Jinn's slave. And there's a penalty if you choose not to answer it. So Grandma Sorensen was trying to talk to a Jinn, to bargain with a Jinn to get the power to help Warren. And the Jinn ended up asking her something that she didn't think that would be as big of a deal as that she didn't see coming. And so she couldn't answer. She refused to answer, and in response, the Jinn turned her into a chicken. So at this point in the story, the kids have a lead statue. They have Hugo, or no, Hugo's missing. I think Hugo's missing at this point. It's just the kids and a lead statue of Dale and a torn up house. Now, the torn up house isn't that big of a deal because the brownies will fix everything. The brownies are the one magical creature that have access to the house by treaty, and it's because the brownies fix things and build stuff, and they're not. They just like to do stuff like that. Anyhow.
Builders and caretakers.
Yeah. And so the kids at that point have to try to figure out what's going on. And they hear a loud bellowing from the barn, and they go there and they see that it is the cow Viola. They find this giant cow in the barn, and it turns out Viola is the cow where all the milk is coming from. And well, they knew about Viola, but they find the cow in the barn, this giant milch cow, they call her Viola, who provides the milk for the magical creatures and, you know, for the humans that allow them to see the magical creatures. So the kids have to help milk the cow, or have to milk the cow, and they do it by jumping on a ladder and sliding, grabbing the teats and sliding down. And they end up just spraying the milk everywhere because mostly they're doing it to relieve the cow.
If I remember correctly, it's the golem's job to actually milk the cow, right?
Yeah. So typically Hugo milks the cow. So anyhow, the kids have to they have to do something, and so they end up taking their grandma, the chicken, to Muriel, and they use Muriel's last knot to change grandma back to a human, which was like a done deal. They couldn't take it back after they did it. That's the only way they knew, or they could think to save everybody.
Because they were kind of at the wits' end. Muriel was the only one in that time that could actually help or had a solution. Though it was a bad deal, it was the only one they had.
Yeah, it was the only solution that the kids possibly had. So anyhow, now that they've got grandma, they get Hugo. I think grandma calls Hugo. There's a way she calls him. So they get Hugo back, and from there, they end up having to go see. So there's a troll called Nero, and Nero has a seeing stone, and grandma knows they can use the seeing stone to find out where Lena and grandpa had been taken.
Yeah. By the way, does Nero have a dad called Virgil and an uncle called Dante?
Yeah. No.
Sorry, I couldn't help it.
But yeah. No. So Nero. Nero has a seeing stone, but Nero had a price, and he wanted to take Seth as his slave. That was going to be his price. He wanted Seth as his slave, and then and then something else. Oh, and he wanted a bunch of gold.
So we're going by the
and then-
Norwegian trolls, I hear. They're,
Yeah.
give
Yeah.
me child slaves and give me gold.
Yeah.
That's what all trolls want.
And so,
Except for me,
but
I don't want gold.
Well, Grandma ended up negotiating a massage.
Oh.
And so she ended up giving Nero a massage. He'd never had a massage before. So Grandma gave Nero a massage, and which he
So
was...
Grandma busted out all the Thai moves, huh?
Yeah. Grandma got out the comfort women move. Anyhow, so she gives him the massage, and they find out that Grandpa and Lena have been captured by Muriel, or by what's her name? It's not by agents by evil people. One of whom was the Hamadryad we talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
She what's her name? Aphira.
Yeah.
Aphira, the Hamadryad. So her and other, agents of evil or agents of dark captured them and transformed Warren into lead, and then absconded to the Forgotten Chapel, where Bahumat was captured, and they're working to free him from his imprisonment, and he's imprisoned in a large web of knots, very similar to Muriel's. And when they open up they release a knot, so Muriel has a series of imps and other evil creatures assisting her, including Aphira, the evil Hamadryad, who was previously inhabiting the Forbidden Chapel, or it's Forbidden Chapel.
Yeah. Question though, is she? She's inhabiting it, but you made it seem like she was a guardian in the beginning. Is she?
She
kind
of, she's kind of like the guardian of it. And it's more or less she's sticking around there because she wants to help free the bad guy.
Oh.
But so she, so they're freeing the dude, and then Kendra and Seth and Hugo and everybody shows up. Grandma's got a little crossbow. She was going to kill Muriel with the crossbow if she got a chance, but she didn't. And so they all get captured in assorted ways. I'm kind of glossing over that, because if you want specifics, read the book. But so they get captured. Everybody but Kendra. And Kendra escapes, and she has no idea where to go. So she makes her way towards, and at one point the kids have found that there's a shrine to the Fairy Queen in the preserve, and that shrine is on a small island in the middle of a large pond that is inhabited by naiads. And the naiads
What's a naiad compared to dryad? I'm sorry for asking the question. But...
Oh, no. Well, no, so a naiad is a freshwater nymph.
Right.
And like dryads are tree naiads, basically. Dryads are tree nymphs, which are like, young, pretty women, basically, that are the spirits of the trees. That's what dryads are. Which they get talked about a lot because the satyrs, You know,
Yep.
when they're making sport, they'll chase the dryads because they're pretty girls.
Yep.
So so there's this large pond in the middle of the preserve. Not in the middle, but there's this large pond in the preserve that has a shrine to the Fairy Queen in the middle. Now, humans are forbidden, or nobody is permitted to go on the grounds of on that island,
Right.
because it's sacred to the fairies and it's protected by the Fairy Queen, and she'll strike down any mortal or anybody who tries to defile her shrine. And so Kendra had no idea what to do. And so she was running away, and she started being pursued by Mendigo.
Yeah, because Muriel
lumberjack.
sent Mendigo after her, and that's basically
Yep.
where we did our drawing of Mendigo, wasn't it?
Yep, that's where the Mendigo story comes in. So Mendigo chases Mendigo chases Kendra to the pond, and there's a boathouse in the pond with a boat in it, obviously. So she gets in the boat. Mendigo tries to come after her, but when he's reaching for her, Kendra, he's reaching into the room, and Kendra unhooks his arm and throws it into the water. And so then he tries to go get his arm, and the naiads grab him and take him apart and put him under the water.
Yeah, because he's not really animated by their kind of magic, and they take umbrage to that, I suppose.
No, I don't think it was more that. I think it was just them being frivolous, snotty, mean girl bitches.
Oh, okay.
They were just like, "Oh, you want to move? Here, I'm going to take you apart." So,
Oh my God, you're not in here. Get out.
Yeah. And so, and I misspoke earlier in the previous thing about Mendigo. He doesn't actually get turned good in this book. He's still at the end of this book. He's still in the bottom of the lake. So anyhow, Kendra goes to gets onto the Fairy Queen shrine and kind of cries and prays to it, so to speak. And she hears, and then tears come out of the shrine and fall into the little bowl. So the shrine is a little fairy sitting on a pedestal above a silver bowl in the middle of a little pool. You know, surrounded by flowers and all sorts of shit.
Well, so that bowl is sort of like a gift bowl. You can make sacrifices.
Yeah, you would.
Offerings.
Exactly, yeah.
Word.
That's kind of what you would think it would be, yeah. And so Kendra goes in there she asks for help, and she's crying sincerely, and the shrine starts dropping tears and tells her, she hears, like, kind of she hears in her head and her heart kind of thing, the Fairy Queen talking to her and tells her to mix her tears with blood and milk.
Right.
And then give it to the fairies. And so Kendra goes back to the barn to get milk. And again, jumps on the thing, squeezes the milk out. She gets milk, and then she gets some of Viola's blood and gets some of her own blood and mixes it in like a potion kind of thing.
All this happens while Muriel and the evil naiad is doing their thing, releasing big guy
the evil Hamadryad and their agents are working to free Bahumat, this demon that we're drawing right here.
Yeah.
So,
a question. You said, I'm sorry for bringing it back all the time. Sorry for stopping you.
Yeah.
But a question. What happens as they open Muriel's knots, she got the power to, like, literally grant very powerful witches. She could break evil, like, really powerful spells. What about the Bahumat's knots?
So Muriel is taking the knots, the power from the knots, and she's taking her imps and turning them into full-size imps, like
Oh.
full-size creatures. Instead of being like little tiny, small, fairy-sized imps, they're now giant, like full-size creatures, and she's helping. They're her goons, and she's using them to help, secure the perimeter and basically as like foot soldiers, right?
So she's basically getting an army and freeing her master at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what's happening.
Holy shit! Now that's min-maxing for you.
Yeah, right. And so Kendra goes back, or Kendra has the bowl with the milk and like the potion, and she's trying to get the fairies to drink it, and they wouldn't. She's showing all these fairies. She's like, "Please drink this," and they wouldn't. They're like, "No."
Of course not.
And so she drinks it and pretends like, "Oh, it's so good." And then the fairies try it. One fairy tries it and becomes huge, in like a flash of light becomes a full-size person that's still a fairy. Like, she's a full-size person that's still a fairy, and she's got armor now. She's like a friggin' fairy soldier.
From fairy to actual fae.
Yeah, and so then all the other fairies see that, and they now they drink the milk too, and then they pick up Kendra and fly her towards the Forbidden Chapel, or Forgotten Chapel, towards the Forgotten Chapel, where Muriel is freeing Bahumat. And so when they get there, they of course encounter the imps, the army of imps, along with other evil creatures, and they have to. So the fairies go to work healing the imps, and the way they heal the imps is they'll capture the imps and then kiss them on the lips, and when they kiss them on the lips, then they turn back into fairies from imps. And then they join the cause, and then they start helping, because the fairies don't like imps. Because fairies are good and imps are bad.
So the in-group, out-group preference thing is a bit turned on the head when it comes to fairies.
Yeah. So they have... so they're taking down all the imps. They're just messing shit up. And before they can get to the chapel, Muriel finishes releasing Bahumat's final knot. And when she does that, he of course bursts forth, and he bursts out of the chapel and destroys the building.
Yeah.
As he's coming out of it. And that's when the climax of the book happens. Like, the ultimate climax is that the fairies then use their magic to reseal, or to trap Bahumat and Muriel under a mound of dirt, under the fairy mound.
So she manages to unseal Bahumat, but unfortunately it's too late. The fairies have.
Yeah, she does. She unsealed him, but then the fairy queen, basically what it was the fairy queen's power. The fairy queen's representative was there to stop the demon.
Right.
And because he wasn't like a super major demon, it didn't take it took the fairy queen's power to do it, but it didn't take the fairy queen direct intervention herself to do it. She just worked through her emissaries, through the fairies, to seal him back
I'm letting Jim take care of this one.
Yeah.
Kind of hints at how powerful she really is. If this isn't enough for her to actually do anything personally, kind of says a lot about her power.
Yeah. So so at the end of the story, in the books, the fairy, all is restored. The fairies are all restored to to their normal size. Like the Fairy Queen's magic is discharged. They're still trying to figure out what's wrong with Warren. And the fairies. So through the course of it, the fairies, or the Hugo was destroyed, and the fairies repaired Hugo, which you find out later was turned him into a true golem. So
they
more
did
like
a real good job
Earth.
patching him back, didn't they?
Yeah, yeah. And then they ended up taking Lena and throwing her back in the pond, where she resumed her life as a naiad instead of
Growing old
like
and
they
die, right?
which they kind of thought like the fairies thought they were helping her, but she didn't want to go back to it. But the fairies were like, "This is what's best for you."
It's, we know
like,
what's
this
best
is
for you.
This is how it's supposed to be. And so then they just threw her in the threw her back on the water, where she became a dryad, or a naiad again.
Voice, humanity, what the hell is that? We're fairies. We don't.
And
care.
then yeah, and then they find out, and then it's subsequently revealed that after this, Kendra no longer needs to consume the milk to see magical creatures.
All right.
She's able to see them. Like Seth still does, but Kendra doesn't. And so they initially refer to that as fairy struck. They figure that she was now, because she's been touched by the fairies, or the Fairy Queen's power, that she now has an affinity for fairy people, for fairy kind.
Mm-hmm.
And they call it fairy struck.
All right. At least she's not thunderstruck.
Yeah. And then at the end of the book, the parents come and pick up the kids, and the kids go home.
Yeah.
Because they got to start school.
Yeah, and also leaving the story open-ended for a sequel if it's popular enough.
Yep.
Which was.
Well, for going on, I think the guy had the stories. I bet he had the stories planned out before he, because it flows really well into the next one, which is called The Rise of the Evening Star. So the first book is called Fablehaven. The preserve itself is called Fablehaven, which is why the book is called Fablehaven.
Neat.
So, yeah, the next book in the series is The Rise of the Evening Star, and that is then that one is where the kids get tricked into into doing some stuff by some agents of the Society of the Evening Star and a few other things. And I think the first thing we'll cover from that book is a demon called Olak the Glutton. And he's a frog-like demon with multiple tongues.
Why is it always frog
I think
demons?
that'll be a cool. Because they have a big mouth. Because they have big mouths, which is really what this one comes from.
Yeah, I mean, there's even. Oh, by the way, once more we return to the usual references of Dresden Files, because in the first Dresden Files book, there's this frog demon that just becomes sort of central during the story.
Yeah. It's because they have large, unsettling mouths. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Very true. Again, I do these references so very often. I might as well just make it. I might as well make a fucking announcement to it.
Just do them yourself. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good. So.
Oh. So far, I'm really liking this, and yeah. So.
Yeah, man.
Honestly, though, for Essential AC, he's sort of a background horror kind of character. In that he's a background fright, not exactly very central person. He's not in character there. He's not there personally, but his presence is pretty
No.
much just felt throughout the entire book, right?
Yeah, yeah. So he's, well, once it's revealed that that Muriel's going to release him, that he would have the power to overthrow the preserve, then it becomes really pressing.
Yeah.
Like the main tension of the book, of course, it does come from Muriel and all the other evil stuff, but like the main tension of the original story, I think, comes mostly just from the original conflict of humans and Fae, of
Yeah.
humans just interacting with Fae and not like the mundanities of it necessarily, but the actual realization that dark creatures do dark shit and they're always going to do dark shit.
And even the
and you
not
can't
dark
trust them.
creatures have their darker sides.
Yeah, the dark creatures are always going to try to be a bit deceitful.
Mm. Well, so what do you think so far
Yeah.
about the look of it? I still have a little of a will go, but still.
Oh no, I'm digging it, dude. Like, I'm not sure what else you're gonna do to it.
I'm going to do a little bit of this, and then I'm gonna add a little bit of light.
Because it's like the backdrop of it only needs to be a night sky
Pretty much.
at most. Because that's really the backdrop of the scene, is a night sky.
Yep. And also a little bit of a cross, but hey, it's a chapel, so
Yeah.
it fits.
No, yeah, I mean it's a church, right?
Church, yeah.
It's an abandoned. It's the forgotten chapel.
You've been saying forbidden and forgotten. Is it which one?
I
is
know.
it?
I keep saying it's. I know. I keep going back and forth.
That's right.
Let me find my.
I gotta say, I really like the design of this guy. You did send me a picture, but like sort of, but pretty much like Taggart and some of the other creatures you sent. There's some images, which is kind of normal in many books, where the artist drawing the cover or the idea of the creatures, they're not exactly as told in the book. If you know what I'm saying?
It's the Forgotten Chapel.
Yeah.
Just so it's just for color, Forgotten Chapel.
Yes.
I keep saying forbidden, but it's the Forgotten Chapel.
Well, it would be forbidden if people knew there was a goddamn demon inside of it. Let's be fair.
Yeah, yeah. The Forgotten Chapel. So, I think people would mostly avoid it if they knew there was a demon in it.
Well, I mean, except for politicians and all other evil parasites.
Yeah, well, I think the demon would avoid the place the politicians are at. So,
fair.
Demon's like, I don't want to.
Even the demon's like, dude, get the fuck out.
There.
And demon's like, dude, no, you're too far up the pecking order. Screw you guys, I ain't working here.
You know.
You should be here, not me.
Yeah. Right.
And I think we gotta stop it there before we start saying too much. Damn it.
Yeah.
Oh Lord. Anyway, so yeah, I'm kind of.
So.
I'm kind of glad I get to do a bit of a dragon creature here.
Yeah.
Just kind of.
Well,
funny.
there's actual dragons in this. So the sequel to this series is called Dragon Watch.
Yeah, I was about to ask because you have mentioned dragons a bit before, and
yeah,
dragons are a bit different. But this demon looks like a dragon. Do you think this is sort of like a fallen dragon of some kind?
You know, it doesn't really say much. It doesn't say that about him. There are demonic dragons, and I don't think he's one of them.
No.
Yeah, one of the main demon princes is a dragon.
Oh.
Is a fallen dragon. So, the dragons are a different thing because the dragons aren't really signatories for the preserves. So they're not all necessarily bound by the same rules as the preserves, meaning that the dragons can kind of come and go from the preserves.
Okay, so screw you, I can do what I want kind of guys.
Yeah, but they're still, they're still bound to secrecy in regards to like to avoid humans, but really more or less they do it to protect themselves, is to avoid humans.
Yeah, because you can be as powerful as you want to be, but a nuke is still gonna nuke.
Yeah, and there's a lot more humans than there are any other sentient creature on the planet now.
Honestly, that's something I love about modern fantasy. That's the threat level. It's for supernatural. It's yeah, there you are more powerful than the average human, maybe even more powerful than 100 human. But do know that there's 8 billion of us on the planet right now, and
Yeah.
how many of you
Yeah,
are there?
yeah, right. There's like a million of us for one of you,
Yes.
kind of thing. Yeah. So and they realize that too. The Fey creatures do, which is why they agree to the preserves. You
Yeah.
know, they agree to have the safe spot, because otherwise they wouldn't have a safe place.
Yeah, the havens, so to speak. Eh?
Yeah. Excuse me. And so yeah, the Dragon King, after the Demon King is dealt with, the Dragon King becomes an issue in later books. But for the time being, the Dragon King understands that the Demon King is a greater threat to all of humanity. So that's a big climax thing, and I'm not going to talk anymore about that.
We'll get to that when we get to that.
Yeah, so the end of this book, yeah, the kids go home. They are alerted that their grandparents are actually members of the Knights of the Dawn, and the Knights of the Dawn are there to help the people of Fablehaven. So that even though the Society of the Evening Star is trying to overthrow the preserve, the Knights of the Dawn are there to help them. So it lays out the stark good versus evil in that regard as well.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't mind a proper good versus evil, because I'm gonna be honest, I've been through so many like, oh, everything is gray kind of stories. I'm just sick of that.
Yeah.
There's a reason why good versus evil is always the best stories, because there is more meat to the bones in good versus evil than just everything is gray, everyone has a point. No, make it good versus evil, because then you have a definite reason for everything.
Well, and it's like that C.S. Lewis quote about like, life is evil. Like, you're going to experience evil and awful shit in life.
Yep.
And the best counter to that is to let people know that there's heroes, and that you can overcome because other people have overcome.
Yes.
I can't remember what the exact quote. But
me neither, but I'm pretty sure
life is evil, but let your...
Yeah. Best, like, if you can find the quote, just put it up on the screen if you could.
Yeah. We did it on Sultans a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
I think. But
to be honest, though, C.S. Lewis has a lot of good quotes.
He does. Well, there's lots of... I mean, the heart of it is there's lots of evil in the world. The best thing we can do is let people know that there's also good in the world.
Yes,
and that
is
as powerful as the evil is, there's also...
Yeah, that's not just an empty saying either, because there is good in this world.
Well, it's as powerful as the evil is also as powerful as the good is, and so that there's always hope.
Yeah, because evil only wins when good men stop trying.
Yeah, which is because there's no hope.
Yes.
I mean, people don't try without hope, and so...
Exactly. So that's why I just prefer proper stories with good versus evil, because I'm so sick and tired of this whole, everyone has a point. Everything is evil. It's like, yeah, you have, like the Fae, they have their darker natures, but they are still essentially creatures of good. The fairies won't screw with you unless you really start breaking into their territory. Being good doesn't mean you're good all the time. There are limits.
It's not necessarily that they're good, it's just that they're not evil.
Yeah.
You know, like, they're not actively maliciously evil.
Yeah.
But then the thing is like, they're not the heroes of the story.
No.
The heroes of the story are the humans, the good humans that are trying to overcome, the humans that are trying to persevere against, seemingly overwhelming odds against supernatural evil.
Yeah.
Um,
And the humans
and
who would
so,
just give up and just serve evil instead of just trying to fight it.
right.
They're the
So
worst
that's
kind of
why
characters.
stories, well, in young adult fiction, that's a really good thing about young adult fiction. And of course, it's a really prominent theme in young adult fiction is that triumph of good over evil, and the triumph, the overcoming, like the theme of overcoming something, which is very germane to your teenage years in life, right? It's overcoming stuff is what kids feel like they're doing every day, in a lot of ways, because they are.
Yes.
You know, kids are
Every
overcoming. It's like we get kind of. It's easy to look and as adults, we look back at a lot of things from kids, and a lot of adults have a tendency to be like, "Boo hoo, life gets tough," but at the same time, like that's as hard as that kid's ever experienced. Like that's the worst thing. In some regards, that's the worst thing that kid has experienced up to that point, and
you know, that reminds me
it
about
takes
something
some reckoning to deal with.
something a friend of mine told me is that
And
you
so,
can't really compare pain because for a child, if you go to a young child and you knock the ice cream from his hands, that pain is going to be that's going to be the worst kind of emotional pain
yeah,
he'll feel for
it's the
at
worst
least
thing
so far in his
yeah,
life. Yeah.
because it's like the worst thing he's experienced to that point. Right. And so these kids and so, you know, I'm like kids in middle school and stuff like that, there's a lot of struggles to
Yeah.
overcome in middle school. There's a lot of struggles to overcome growing up
Yeah, and
as
these kind of
a
stories they kind of help.
teenager.
These kind of stories kind of helps put them in the mindset because in many
Yeah.
cases, like, oh yeah, this is bad, but hey, I remember this and this and this.
Well,
That's where
again,
childhood heroes just appear.
yeah, exactly. It's the idea that, you know, you'll overcome. Like, oh yeah, well, I'm going to overcome this. I'm going to, um, I'll survive.
Yeah.
I'll persevere.
It's also why He-Man and like He-Man, Transformers, G.I. Joe, they had these not exactly infomercial, but where they just had this
Oh
tiny
yeah,
moment where kids just learn something or be it moral about right or wrong or something you could
well,
do to avoid this and that.
I am fairly certain it's the PSAs, and I'm fairly certain that there was a policy through the Reagan administration that mandated that certain amounts of children's television content needed to be educational.
Wouldn't it? That would kind of
And
be
so
good to have these days, wouldn't it? All things
it
considered.
would, but it led to things like that, them putting those little PSAs at the end of GI Joe.
Yep.
But then really GI Joe was the real American hero.
Yep.
And at the time, like, being a morally upstanding citizen was something that was valued and treasured at that time. And
It's
being a
still valued. It's
responsible
just that the
member,
wrong people have too much to say.
well, yeah, there was more value on it then, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
And so entertainment companies actively tried to tell people how to be moral instead of telling them it's okay to do the other, to be the opposite.
Yeah. Because now it's more about, oh, you should indulge your own insanities, your delusions. You should not care too much. Or if you're going to care about someone, you have to care about it in a way that reinforces their own insanities instead of trying to give them help, telling them the hard
Yeah.
truths.
Yeah. No, you can't be mean to people. You can't.
No, of course not. That'd be evil. That'd be rude.
And trying to, expect people to be responsible or anything like that is just too much.
Yeah. Don't die, Dev. Dave. Make a solid Snake reference.
Sorry.
Dave. Dave. Dun dun dun.
That's better because it's usually the Dave's not here. That's what I get a lot. fucking Cheech and Chong.
Cheech and
Dave's
Chong.
not here, man. Oh, that's before your time.
Way before my time.
Yeah, I think that's late 70s, Cheech and Chong.
Huh.
They had a skit where they had a Dave's Not Here skit. It's like I'm finished. I've told the story of the book, and so now I think I'm just kind of bullshitting.
All right.
Until we're done with the drawing.
Oh, so good. I'm getting close. I'm just putting a little extra effort into it. We're still within time.
No. Don't rush. Don't rush. I'm just telling you what happened.
Well,
I just told you what I realized that I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I'm just talking shit.
That's good. Honestly, though, you said there was a movie planned for this.
Yeah, the Angel Studios is planning a movie in 2026 for these.
Yeah,
books.
they're the same guys that did the Sound of Freedom. Yeah, honestly,
Well,
that kind of makes me hopeful for this movie.
it does me as well, because the press release they released said we are excited to be allowed to produce a faithful adaptation of the novel.
Oh, that makes me happy
Which was
to hear.
Really good phrasing, in my opinion. We are allowed to produce a faithful adaptation.
That is the word of someone who actually cares about what they do.
Well, and also it's kind of like hey, the other studios are interfering with the artistic interpretation of these novels. It's the studios themselves that are making those movies that you loved as a kid, those books you loved as a kid, into shitty movies that you hate as an adult.
Right. Oh.
It's the studios that are crapping it up with their banal bullshit and
let's keep
their cultural flattening.
Yeah, just killing meaning, killing value generally.
Yep.
Let's see. So, what do you think about the eye business here? Doing a little bit. I don't know if he actually had a color on his.
Oh yeah, I like that, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can dig that.
Let's see. Now, if I do this,
the black eye with the white iris is always cool.
It is.
On demons, it looks unsettling on humans, but
all of it is in this one. Boop boop. Now, what to do with the background here? Yeah, because now the background is there. Should I? My screen on my tablet is a bit. The dark things stand out more. How does it look on your side? What if I do something like this?
Ooh.
Maybe.
Wait, go back to the before of that.
All right, give me a second. There you go.
Okay, and then what's the after? Yeah, the second one looks better.
This one?
Just that bit darker. Yeah, I like the bit darker.
Should I reduce the opacity of it? Like, 42?
Yeah, right there. I think that looks good. 42 is the answer.
Always. And then if I do... Let's see. Let's try... Here's 100, right? I gotta do like this. Yeah. Try to get as much of a picture there. You can still see it, right?
Yep.
Good. Alright, so this is 100. Then I go to... Let's do 80. 100 and 80 down to 69. Nice. 69 isn't bad.
No, that looks good.
Then I have to do. Let's see. I have an idea for this because still I want to keep the eyes to be kind of bright. No wait, that's stupid. I don't need to do that. I could just do this. Thinking with trim. Let's see. There we go. Then just... Nah, the circle doesn't work.
Nah, I like this. I like the faint outline better.
Yeah. And a hard white there. And of course, because...
Some more shine on there.
Yeah, gotta show the divine a little bit more respect, you know? There we go. Something like this. And now...
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Let's add... Let's do full black on this so far. And then... A full... You said it's a full night sky, right?
Yeah, just do a night sky. Oh yeah. God damn, that brush is cool.
I love... Dude, it's a Jass's set. And what I
Yeah.
like to do, it's Jass's pencil. The construction pencil.
Yeah.
That's my...
Which I think we say. I think we have this conversation every time we record because I love that. You know, like, it's that construction pencil. Jazz's construction pencil. You know what's funny is that now I can see your screen a lot better through the. I can see the drawing and everything a lot better now that it's just sharing the camera.
Yeah, Dave taught me a little trick on the Discord.
Yeah, that looks good.
A bit more warpy, but we do dig that. Right.
See, I dig the dynamic pieces of rubble in the air. Like, it's such a good touch.
A little bit here, a little bit there. So yeah, kind of going. I'm thinking of going with this.
Yeah, no, I think that looks good, dude.
Yeah. Should I reduce the... Ooh, maybe. Just dragging along. Not too much, not too little. Reduce the light a little bit. There we are.
Like construct. Yeah.
Absolute darkness and some light.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go, yeah. Well,
that's a lot better, especially with the highlight on the cross too, so.
Yeah. Should I maybe drag a little bit along the demon itself? Just a few drags here and there. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Imagine you just go by a local church and this just fucking breaks out.
Right, you're just chilling and all of a sudden. Dude, a house in one of my buddy's neighborhood, or one of my coworkers' neighborhoods, exploded.
What?
Last week. Yeah, there was a gas leak, and this house freaking exploded. And so then, all week long, people have been smelling gas leaks. You know, just because they're paranoid. Not because there's actually been gas leaks, but people are just like, "Oh, I think I smell gas leak." And so the gas company has been busy as hell all week.
It's kind of like that spider on your leg effect, right? You see something, you see a video of a spider, really scary, creepy spider, and like, it's on my leg. It's on my leg right now.
Yep, exactly. Well, and do you want to take the chance?
No. Speaking of which, there's actually a new spider in my house. It's a big one, and I call her Shelob. And yes, I did instinctively move my leg to myself when I started talking about spiders, because fuck spiders. Except for Shelob, she's cool. Right, Shelob? Yes, you are. We have a deal. We have an arrangement. I don't bother her, she don't bother me.
Yeah, I've had spiders that I've I've lived symbiotically with.
Yep. Hey, they keep
Because
my
I don't
house
usually
clean
kill
from.
Yeah, I don't kill spiders when I find them in my house. I don't kill a lot of spiders anyways.
Nah.
If I have to do something with one, I'll put it outside generally. But because I hate flying bugs more than I'm scared of spiders. I'm not scared of spiders, but I hate flying bugs. So I dislike flying bugs more than I dislike spiders, I should say.
Yeah, and I don't want any ants or any bullshit in my apartment. So Sheila gets
Yeah, no.
here. She can eat everything she can catch, except for me.
Yep. Yep. Until she gets good enough to do that, and then it's her right to do so.
Yeah, but then I'll just summon then I'll scream loudly and summon Balrogs to help me. And anyone getting that reference, go get yourself a cookie. So,
yeah, this looks really good, dude.
thanks. I really think I've started improving. Like even Christopher told me last time we did a pretty good one. It's the episode before this one, the previous. Who, for those interested in watching my channel, you've probably already seen it. I just really enjoy drawing monsters, and this I'm having a lot of fun with this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a cool little thing. You get to draw a monster and bullshit with your buddies at the same time.
Yeah.
So
That's the best
it's not a bad deal.
Nope. And also I like just generally talking with my friends too.
Yeah.
Let's see. So yeah, it's New Year, everyone. It was that a while ago actually, but this one is actually recorded in the New Year, so very, very, depending on how late this is, very belated New Year's to everyone, because the old year is out, but Simply Sketchy, as far as I intend, is gonna keep going, at least for a while longer, because this is too much fun to ignore. And also, it helps me practice, which is nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yeah. So
in this case, I guess, do you have anything? For example, I can do it properly, actually, instead of rambling on like a lunatic. I do that enough already. I want to say thank you very much, Dave, also Total Blackout Painting, for joining me on this one. Where can people find you?
I have my YouTube channel, Total Blackout Painting. I'm also at Reverend Dave on Twitter, Reverend with an A, REVERAND Dave. Just some jerk is my name. I'm a mega asshole. And then Saturdays, you can catch me on the Sultans with Trim when he's off the boat. And this coming Monday, which is, I don't know when that'll be, it's not going to be the coming Monday that this follows out, but I'll be sitting in on Discordant Dragons again. So I do that about once a month now too.
I love Discordant Dragons because she gives you the name of a subject, but then the subject just is like, that was not what I intended, but it's still, that's not what I thought, but it's still pretty fun.
Oh, for real. The questions that Yiz comes up with are really, they're really insightful, in my opinion. So, yeah.
And also, it's a pretty cool little RP thing she's got going there.
Yeah. And so, so I guess we'll be there on the January 20th, this is probably coming out after that. So, so you should have watched it by now, and shame on you if you haven't.
And it is the 20th. It is the 20th.
Yeah, it has to be the 20th because it's the day of the inauguration.
Yeah.
Which is why it's going to be a wild fucking day.
That's going to be, for the people who's watching this on the day of release, it was a pretty wild show, wasn't it? It was pretty cool, especially when the thing happened during the thing. Because we're totally talking about this as it happened, and this is not recorded like 3 weeks before release, I swear.
Yeah,
maybe even longer.
We can't spend much time talking about contemporary stuff on this.
Fuck
But
politics.
yeah, so
that's what. Yeah, fuck politics. That's why we got sultans. This is
Right.
for nerd shit and just interest in history and mythology.
Yep.
And anyone who's willing to join in on that part is welcome aboard here.
Yeah. And so yeah, that's my shilling.
Excellent.
And yeah,
Yeah, then
thank you for having me, Trim.
It's my pleasure, dude. Always having fun. Of course, you got to bring a little bit of thank to everyone else too. Everyone watching this far. Thank you very much for staying here. If you feel like you enjoy what you see, a little like, comment, and subscribe if you feel so inclined, because I got to do that YouTube chill thing to see if it works. Who knows? And if you really like the drawings I do, you can find my Ko-Fi down the link down below. You can DM me on Twitter if you want to order a commission as well, or if you just want an image on a coffee mug or a t-shirt, because hopefully we should have fixed my Ko-Fi by now. No, wait, not Ko-Fi. Hopefully we should have fixed my... And there, my
red bubble.
My brain zoned out again. Damn it.
It's red. It's red bubble.
No, it's not red bubble. Is it?
No.
No. My merch... Hopefully, we would have fixed my merch store by now, because apparently there's some smaller issues going on there. Shut up, you're the one distracting me, damn it. Anyway, so you can buy some of my images, because I plan to upload every Simply Sketchy drawing there, and to add them on either t-shirts or coffee mugs, which hopefully it will look good, because I like them. Get a own piece of trim there, or if you want your own image, just hire. You can just commission me to draw whatever. I can draw whatever, whenever, almost however, but do know that furries will cost extra. Yeah, I got some standards, damn it. And of course, for this, I also would like to say thank you to Robert Renato for letting us use his amazing music in these episodes. Go give him a look. It's Officio Auditorum as well as Robert Renato on YouTube. He makes some amazing tracks in both Warhammer, Eldritch, like Lovecrafty, and he even does a few adorable things, and he has a few MechWarrior tracks too. Go give him a listen. Then, of course, you have the man, the myth, the legend from down under, Bessic. Notorious Australian and legendary technological wrangler, because without him, this shit would have just been a pipe dream. So yeah, thank you all for your work, my friends. Again, thank you, Dave, for joining in on this for how many episodes? I've lost count now. And everyone else for watching, thank you very much, and have a good day.